This is the FM Gold channel of All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on economic measures during COVID-19 pandemic. The participants are Shubhamoy Bhattacharjee, economic analyst and All India Radio special correspondent Mattu JP Singh.
New set of guidelines has been issued with focus on mitigating hardship for public in general and especially for daily wage workers and farmers. And from 20th April, economic activities will be opened up further as Prime Minister says, Jaan bhi, Jahan bhi.
This is necessary because the essential problem is that a country cannot stay in lockdown for too long because economy has to work for it to be sustainable for the people. Remember, we are talking about 1.3 billion people with different levels of income, right from the very lowest to the highest. And therefore, it is necessary that economic activity has to return as early as possible. So yes, it was a 21-day phasing out which the government had done and which was very necessary because that seems the only acceptable public policy response to the pandemic. After that, the government has to then take the chance of bringing activities to some extent back and see how it pans out.
All agricultural and horticultural activities, including farming operations, will be fully functional. What issues do you see in this sector?
The rural sector, not just agriculture, but the rural economic sector, dairying, poultry, fisheries, even handicrafts, handlooms, those should not have a problem because as of now, there has not been a report of community spread of the virus. The other thing is that the incidence has really not been in rural India, and that is a very big relief because as of now, that would have been a huge disaster for us if it had actually hit the rural India first. So long as the health people can manage to keep the pandemic concentrated in urban areas, the rural area can start moving about its work and, most important, provide food, the cereals, the pulses, the poultry, the milk, which is essential for the economy to start coming back to life. But in terms of challenges, obviously, there will be the problem of that where do they come with the trucks. Many of the mandis are just not working. The mandis usually are very crowded places in any city. So when supplies come, to be able to handle it with social distance is an enormous challenge. Second part is that the credit chain, the mandis themselves provide the credit for the farmers to be able to do their next round of agriculture. Those have got stopped because the mandis themselves where lots of people have been put into quarantine. There have been people who are also very short on their cash reserves. Both make it very difficult for it to act as a supplier or as a lubricator of the economic activity. So the government has said that the farmers can sell directly to the companies, which means basically selling it to some of the supermarkets. It's a good idea, except that it will require a lot of rules and regulations to be cleared up. This is one sector of the economy where we have been asking for changes, but changes have taken time. Let's hope that this time those changes, which will allow farmers to go there directly, will be coming in, and that should be a very big game changer for the rural economy.
Speaking about Manrega works will now be allowed with strict precautions. What prospects does this hold? How will this benefit?
Well, essentially, Manrega will start being very big in the summer months. Typically, this is the time of the year when Manrega activities pick up. And that's because summers does not allow for any agricultural activity to happen in any state in India. So this is naturally the time when Manrega really comes to its peak. Once the Kharif crop sowing season starts, so yes, it's great income support for this time of the year. This time one would see a bit more because many of the migrant laborers who are coming back might join the Manrega numbers. So we would expect jump up there. It would also mean that many of the traditional workers, who have been getting work, they might find a bit more competition. So though Manrega is supposed to be demand driven, that anybody who demands a job under Manrega has to be able to be given one, the districts will have to be a bit more creative because it would essentially mean providing for a larger number of people. So those are the challenges there. The other one is, of course, that social distance, how to ensure that people do not come in close contact with each other. One of the things that could be done is that any migrant laborer who comes in must get this health certificate. That would be an additional level of paperwork, but at this stage, it doesn't seem that you can avoid that sort of a situation.
Moving to the banking sector, Shubhamoy, several steps have been taken to provide the last mile connectivity. What role is being played by financial inclusion through digital technology?
Digital technology is actually huge. I mean, the opportunities here are massive, and I wish the government does much more on digital. One major application that has been put on is the Arogya Setu app. It has had a record number of downloads. I understand it's about 5 crore, making it one of the largest downloads. But there is so much more that can be done. We are a country with a so massive mobile penetration, and this needs to be now really pushed to the farthest possible limit. For instance, the government has rightly decided to give out cash support to people under the PM Kisan Yojana. The point is that all of these schemes, we are talking of laborers who are moving from the cities to the villages, they can be given food stamps through those mobiles. Their health status could be tracked by the panchayats. The panchayats should be able to contact relevant authorities to be able to figure out who needs containment, how to work out the containment, and provide regular updates on the health of the people, not only to the government but also to the people who are affected, so that they also feel a sense of comfort that they are being looked after. So there is enormous possibility of using digital. The Ministry of Information Technology has started a scheme called e-hospital. It's a very good move that has been started from the year 2018. But till now, only about 345 hospitals have come into its fold. Yet e-hospitals can provide us the countrywide database, which is so necessary to track all the coronavirus patients. And this can be so useful. So digital, the more we see, India can and already has the bandwidth and the ability to use digital. And in this case, when people are under lockdown, the scope is massive.
Finance Minister in the G20 Finance Ministers meeting had said that monetary policy measures taken by India has helped defreeze markets and catalyze credit flows. What is the stimulus that we are looking at?
There are two parts to the stimulus. The one part which the government is doing is providing cash support to the lowest income group, which is as it should be, because these people would need the liquidity to be able to tide over months when they do not have income from any other source. We discussed Manjari, but we also need this support. And one would expect that just as the government has also started providing additional rations for the people, gas supply for the people, these are the sort of support that is very necessary and will need to be taken on for the long haul. The second part is, which is the more difficult part, which is to provide support to MSME sector, and there it cannot be cash support, but it basically has to be credit support, where banks and other financial institutions reach out to these units to give them the working capital. The third part is, of course, support for the larger industry. That the government is working on and will be coming out with packages as and when, once the lockdown, the immediate emergency is over, the government would be working out details of what sort of support and for what sort of sectors that are needed to be provided. The sectors that will immediately be needing it are sectors like tourism, aviation, sectors like restaurants, sectors like IT sector. These are the sectors where there's a lot of employment and they would be needing the government's help to be able to tide over this immediate financial crunch.
IMF has lauded India's proactive decision of imposing national lockdown. Looking at Asia-Pacific region, Shubhamoy, how will the containment policies reflect in the economic scenario?
India's lockdown thing has been useful. It is something that we went into it fast, and as subsequent events are showing and the data projections by epidemiologists are showing, that we went just at the right time. It has been, as I said, it's been the only agreeable public policy as of now to handle the epidemic. And there's no gainsaying the fact that in a country with the second largest population in the world, essentially the government had to sort of learn as it went along. There's no rule book to tell it which way the lockdown should be done. There is no public policies, there is no Government of India rules which have ever sort of thought of this sort of a situation. In fact, nowhere in the world. Even WHO, except for saying that there's a lockdown that is necessary, the government has not been able to provide further details. So the government officers have had to sort of think on the foot in terms of, for instance, working out the containment zones in thickly populated cities like Mumbai or in Kolkata or in cities like Bangalore. These have been huge experiments and have proved so successful that the government can really consider itself as having achieved a major success so far in this fight.
Overall scenario, Shubhamoy, pertaining to global economy is that it's expected to go slow. So what are the challenges before the Indian economy at this juncture?
The challenges are massive. And let me put it this way. An Indian economy, or any economy for that matter, has to be working for people to be able to get income. In fact, before COVID came along, the discussion had always been that India is growing at 6% or 5%, and that is not adequate for the needs of the people, and it must grow at least something like 8% and above, going up to a double-digit growth to be able to provide a modicum of living standard given the rising population. In that sort of a situation, for 1 year, the economy to actually go into contraction, and we are really talking of contraction, as the IMF has also talked about, India logging 1.6%, which itself is looking very ambitious at this point. Others like Barclays and Nomura have given a data which says that Indian economy will contract. Remember, this contraction is actually better than what other economies are doing. The rest of the world economies will be in even deeper contraction. So in that sort of a situation, India is better. But it is still, and there's no doubt about it, as a challenge, this is the biggest challenge we are facing post-independent India. It is a challenge whose scale we have not ever faced for a very long time. With 1.3 billion population, this is the biggest thing of how to even get the economy, first of all, starting. Now, what will happen is that the first things that will happen as the government starts putting money into people's hand is that at least some of the sectors like food packaging will start coming back to life. But that will simply mean that they will start producing and selling what they had already stored up as inventory. It's only after that, in the next quarter, when you will have the rest, some of the sectors like logistics coming back to life. It will be only after that when the intermediate goods which provide supplies for these sectors will start getting their first orders after almost 3 quarters of just hanging around without any work, that they will start getting their first orders for production. And for the capital goods sector, we don't expect any production to happen before quarter 4 of 2020-21 at the earliest. So what does it mean for consumer durables? Well, I wouldn't expect any sales of these companies to happen excepting replacement, and that too at a very minimal level, for almost a year. So essentially, but does it mean that the economy is sitting? No, it simply means that it's just getting back to start operations from a negative level. So that is the scale of challenge that we face now in India. So the only redeeming feature of it is that it is better than the other countries because we have a young population which will be wanting at the normal times to eat, to go out, to spend. So we have that impetus, but that population will have to be, first of all, today, everything that has got to be provided to them will have to come with an additional cost. That cost is made in terms of the social distancing. So every product will now be costlier, even a railway ticket. We are not even talking of airlines ticket. Bus ticket will be costlier because every place there will have to be the spacing. So all of that will be adding on to it. That would mean that even the cost of, say, a simple thing like a housemaid, her salary will need to go up to be able to finance the cost of buying the goods because everything would be costlier. But it would mean that Indian economy would need to be working on a set of strategies at multiple levels. But the only advantage is right now that we are making a massive investment in medical infrastructure. So the medical infrastructure sector should expand and is already expanding, and that will provide a huge support to the economy at this juncture.
Thank you, Shubhamoy, for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
You are listening to a discussion on economic measures during COVID-19 pandemic. The participants were Shubhamoy Bhattacharjee, economic analyst, and All India Radio special correspondent Mattu J.P. Singh. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.com. You can also follow us on the News on Air app for updates. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.